is Courtney, a licensed mental health counselor and agency partner here at Lifescape Counseling Services. And I'm here with
Dena Paniccia, licensed clinical social worker.
And we would like to take some time to talk about the newest service we have here at Lifescape, EMDR. And Dena and I want to just talk about what is EMDR, what are the things entailed with it, what are the benefits, so that we can offer this service in our community.
Thank you guys so much for taking time out to share this with us. Super excited to hear about this. So I know that you mentioned EMDR. Could you tell us what that stands for and what exactly is it?
Yeah, sure. So EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That's what it stands for. Basically, basics. We use the science of sleep, of REM sleep, when we're processing through dreams and when we go to bed, everything that happened throughout the day or what's been going on in life lately, through bilateral stimulation in a therapy session when the person is still awake, how we can reprocess some of those emotions, thoughts, and physical responses.
Okay, so you just mentioned bilateral stimulation. What is that?
Essentially what it does is we use different forms of sight, touch, and hearing in order to activate our brain so that the left and the right side of the brain start talking to each other. Why that's important is because a lot of times when we're struggling with trauma or thoughts of anxiety or depression, we struggle with reoccurring thoughts. So what BLS goes ahead and does is it helps us have the right and the left brain side of our brains talk to each other to help unstick those reoccurring thoughts and bring the distress down. And then after going ahead and bringing down the distress so that we're not feeling that stress anymore, what we do is we go ahead and reprocess that negative core belief that was attached to those images or those memories or those thoughts. So essentially what it does is EMDR is what's considered from a bottom-up therapy. And what that means is we take core beliefs that we've created from childhood and we work with you to reprocess those beliefs, as opposed to what is traditionally done a lot of times in therapy is dealing with what's going on with right now and addressing those emotions and working to connect them from childhood. We work to connect our childhood core memories and core beliefs with what's going on in our adulthood.
Dena, the way that you just described that, it sounds like reprocessing memories in a way and how we can effectively cope with those things on current day. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's going ahead and it's taking those past memories and it doesn't erase them. It doesn't make the memories go away, but we take the strong stress that's emotionally related to that memory and change the thoughts so we're no longer creating that stress any longer.
Makes sense. All right, so who would benefit from something like this?
So really with our training, there's not many people who wouldn't benefit from EMDR. I think it just depends on how much a person is willing to be open and vulnerable in a space, in a therapeutic setting. But really, what people typically use EMDR for is for the standard PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I definitely want to point out that EMDR is incredibly effective and powerful, not just for what we call big T traumas or one isolated traumatic event traumas, but also is completely applicable for those who have maybe a complex history of childhood developmental traumas, what we might also call small T's, or maybe there was no such threat of death, however there was some type of emotional neglect or a family system that denies somebody a person's reality. That can be extremely traumatic and stored in the body, and like what Dena was saying, bottom up, stored so deeply in our minds that it plays out in different ways as an adult. So with the EMDR, who would benefit? Most people who are ready to change and reprocess some of those negative core beliefs, that's who it would benefit.
And that includes people who are also struggling with anxiety or depression. Maybe you can't really identify, something going on that was super traumatic in your life, but you're struggling with feelings of anxiety, you're struggling with feelings of depression, eating disorders, addiction, all of those things as well. Start with negative core beliefs that you work to reframe in EMDR.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, we do a lot of when a client goes through a grief process or things like insomnia. We've had situations where it's more of like I'm having constant like physical responses. The person may be thinking, well, I'm not depressed or I'm not anxious, but I have TMJ or I'm having panic or I'm having recurrent headaches. That's something EMDR can go in and reprocess some of where the distress is happening in the body.
Okay, so from that I heard benefits of decreasing symptoms. I heard trauma resiliency. I heard learning effective coping. I even heard that it doesn't matter if I've had just one individual experience of trauma, but even if it is complex trauma, I could still benefit from this. Are there any other benefits that comes from encountering with EMDR?
So one of the benefits of EMDR, the modality itself that's different from talk therapy, is that the person really is totally autonomous to their healing. They're doing the work on their own. They're independent of the therapist and going through some of those free associations and memories and feelings. And we are walking with you alongside of you. However, you're doing all that reprocessing and extremely empowering moment when you go through EMDR as opposed to back and forth CBT therapy. All of those two things are highly integrated. They go well together. What else do you think, Dena?
I think that pretty much sums that up 100%.
Yeah, and so like if there is something that a person needs to process but hasn't gotten to the point or feeling comfortable saying out loud, they have the choice to keep that memory or keep those thoughts to themselves and say to their therapist, I have a thought and let's just go with that. And you can completely reprocess something without having to say every single detail out loud.
When you said who would benefit from this, it also sounds like people that may specifically avoid childhood memories. So the benefit comes from you being able to access those memories and cope with it instead of the continuous of avoidance. With doing this, what is the process of this?
So EMDR is an 8-step process, and essentially what that means is there's 8 different things that are compiled into doing EMDR, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's 8 full sessions to address one thing, but it just means that there are different things that we have to follow for protocol. The first thing that happens is, like anybody coming into therapy, we come in and we kind of just get a background of what's the events of your life have looked like. And from there, we start looking at, okay, let's create a timeline. Let's create a timeline of remembering those negative core beliefs and what happened and where they started. We work to identify with the client what the negative core beliefs are attached to their memories, and we also work to identify with the client how distressful those thoughts and those memories are. From there, we go ahead and we start to work on creating what we call a safe place and a container. So a safe place and container are both coping skills that you can use even outside of therapy. And what it does is essentially creates 2 different things in your mind. The first one being a place where you feel calm in your mind and where you feel protected and you feel safe. And the other thing being, if you're having a hard time figuring that out, or if you're having a hard time being in a safe place within your mind, we create a container, which is where you can envision taking those negative thoughts and taking those negative memories and placing them in a box and locking up that box, throwing out that box into the ocean so that you don't pick it back up until you come back into session. We also work, if you haven't done so yet and really aren't familiar with them, on like deep breathing exercises and some meditation, so that again, coming out of these memories, or even if you need to use them on your own at home, that you have a few different affect management coping skills as well. And then from there we start BLS. That process goes through. We work to identify that negative core belief, bring down the stress. Then we work to install a more positive core belief in that memory. And then we work to go ahead from there and do a body scan from my head to my toes. How do I feel? And do I feel okay, or do we need to keep processing? The one thing to remember is, in core memories or in any memory, we often have somatic symptoms that are attached. So we also want to make sure that our body feels good walking out of the session. And then from there, if the memory distress has gone down, the positive memory has been installed, our body feels good, the following session is usually just a talk session to process what's been different after that.
And that's when you talk about the 8 phases, all of those pieces are so critical. It's not just that point where you may stereotypically see that bilateral stimulation. It's all of those pieces are really significant. So when Dena is talking about resourcing, the container, the safe place, the client really gets a sense of empowerment to know how to cope with those thoughts of what trauma does is separates that mind-body connection, and what EMDR does is connects them again. So if someone says, well, I don't know what I'm feeling, I don't know what's going on with me, we go through a process where you know exactly what you're feeling, exactly what your body has been trying to tell you. So when you talk about the 8 phases, all of them mean something. So it's definitely, when you work with Dena or I, trusting that process. And we most definitely need to get your feedback and your insight to how you're experiencing EMDR. So we very much work together collaboratively in this modality.
This sounds like some real intensive self-awareness. Is there any equipment or anything that you guys use to obtain this goal?
So that's also really exciting. A lot of our experience with previous EMDR was using non-equipment based EMDR bilateral stimulation. The training that we got to experience used 3 different types of tools for visual cues, for auditory cues with headphones that come in different tones, and then the tactile stimulations. And a part of the resourcing at phase 3 is being able to show the client what the types of BLS will be preferable. So by no means does every client have to be the same EMDR structure. It can be, well, I really like the light bar, I can't stand the headphones. And of course, Dena and I customize all of that with you. So in terms of bilateral stimulation, there is equipment, and we teach you how that's going to be best for what kind of brain you have, how you process things, and how you what you sensory prefer.
I'm glad you clarified that. So in that, all of these things are done while the client is awake, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to separate that because I know sometimes people can kind of confuse EMDR with a matter of hypnosis. And all of these things, especially including the light that you just mentioned, are all done while the client is awake and self-aware.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no hypnosis going on here.
Okay. Well, with that being said, what makes the process here different at Lifescape, or especially with you ladies? What makes it different, and how can clients reach out and find resources and information to move forward with this process?
So one of the nice things that we're able to do here at Lifescape is to use those tools that we just mentioned, such as the light bar, the headphones, and the tactile pulsers, in order to do EMDR in person, still following CDC guidelines. Some of the other things that make us different is that once somebody comes in and decides, hey, I'm ready to get working on myself and what do I need to do to get there, is that we do have a policy that we're gonna call you back within 24 hours. So once you're ready, we're ready to get started and have that conversation with you.
So another benefit that I wanted to mention that really does set Lifescape apart and Dena and I apart when we provide EMDR is we are working with a consultation team. Each of us has our own consultation team for doing EMDR. So when we have complex cases or when we have ongoing questions, how we'd like to adapt the treatment plan for that individual client, we have resources to be able to enhance those skills for you and enhance that experience for you, making it completely individualized. Another important thing that Lifescape across the board definitely believes in is affordability and accessibility. So in addition to being in person, we're offering affordable EMDR sessions. So that includes $100 per session for the individual client and their family system. So not only is the outcome, the treatment outcome incredibly intensive and powerful, it also is affordable and it's local, and we're in person and seeking ongoing education in this specialty. So that's definitely how I'm proud to say we are different as a team.
I thank you ladies so much for taking your time doing this. I thank you for taking your time of even grasping this training and sharing this in this community. I hope that you guys receive some good feedback on this, some education on this. If you've been thinking about it or if you feel you need some more assistance outside of talk therapy, please reach out. All of the information will be in the detail box. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment, subscribe, share to others if you feel that others may benefit from this information. And we will see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Courtney.
That wasn't my fault. It was your voice when you were like, agency partner just now. Alright, I'm good. Tanisha's gonna quit on it.
Okay.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Courtney.
And who are you?
Could we just use the introductions from the last video?
Yep, that's what's about to happen.
At least we use their name.
And then you're gonna be totally different people, new clothes, new. I'm just gonna cut that and tie it into this video. That's what's about to happen.
Oh god, okay. Stop. We don't have time. Good 30 minutes. 40 minutes.
We can do it if we can like stop laughing.
Okay.
Deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. One more in through your nose, out through your mouth. Let's go.
Hey everyone, my name is Courtney.
To use that equipment in a way that you would be able to come in. Can I just redo all of that? Sorry, okay.
Because you don't want to say like don't do online.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
like
that's what
it's I don't know how you can word it of like we have found in-person EMDR is still very necessary. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
However, the approach that you were coming from was giving the difference of Lifescape in itself.
Yes.
So you're expressing how you are able to use the tools that you just mentioned needed to be used.
Yeah, I like that. You use the tools mentioned. Okay.